Very good fight, but okay, here's where I have an issue. I don't know how they would be able to put the fight together, if that makes sense. So you got Lara, who's an Haymon fighter. He is not bound to any promotional company. The last card he fought on was a Mayweather Promotions card, but he's not a Mayweather Promotions fighter. You got Miguel Cotto, who has his own promotional company, but he's working with Top Rank Boxing. And also at this point in time in his career. Also, he's trained by Freddie Roach, who also trains Manny Pacquiao. So once again, I asked myself, well, who is Miguel Cotto going to fight? Now, many people are upset with him because he didn't take the Saul Canelo Alvarez fight on May the 2nd, 2015. If not on May the 2nd, 2015, then at a postponed date, maybe the week after, the month after, whatever the case may be. But what I understand is Canelo wants to fight on May the 2nd. And Miguel Cotto is a very intelligent boxing promoter and a very intelligent man of his career. So do you think that if you got Mayweather and Pacquiao fighting on Cinco De Mayo, and then you got Canelo versus Cotto, how does that benefit? And also, why the networks wouldn't pick that fight up? So I think to myself, well, he's not necessarily ducking Canelo. He just wants to fight Canelo on his own time. That's just my own personal opinion. But people just want to. People get so caught up in the news and so caught up in the in like the promotion and the shenanigans involving leading up to the fight that people think that, oh well, he's not fighting him on Cinco de Mayo, or he hasn't been going back and forth with him in the media, so that means he's ducking him. Cotto's never been that type of guy to be going back and forth in the media with anybody. And also, I've said before, use the example, Miguel Cotto in his career considers himself to be A-side. So the fact of whatever the hell you say about whatever numbers that Saul Canelo Alvarez did on pay-per-view, if there were more than Miguel Cotto's, whatever the case may be, that does not matter to Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto is A-side in his mind. Miguel Cotto has a 160-pound title. So therefore, Miguel Cotto is not the type of guy that's going to be allowing a guy like Saul Canelo Alvarez to dictate when he's going to fight. This whole time, we have not been hearing Miguel Cotto say anything about Cinco de Mayo. That's all been Canelo. That's all been Oscar De La Hoya. So I'm thinking, how you going to just tell that man when he's going to fight? Now, of course, I would love to see the fight. I would love to have both fights on both days. I would have Canelo fight down in Mexico or something and have that event end a couple hours before the Mayweather-Pacquiao card starts. There's so many different ways I would do it. Or I would have it that next weekend, you know, if not on, no, it can't be on regular HBO. I would have it on pay-per-view, what, 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after that, and then show the Mayweather Pacquiao replay with that. You know, both, I don't want to confuse myself. But I get frustrated when I think to myself, okay, all right, people are always talking about business, the business side of boxing. People are always talking about how much money the fighters are making. And that is our right to know because it's prize fighting. We pay for the tickets, we pay for the pay-per-views, we pay for the subscriptions. And it's always been like that through the history of boxing, that the public knew how much the fighters were fighting for. It's always been like that. It's not nothing new. So when you hear stuff people say like, why are you worried about what they making? Yo, it's always been like that through the history. And, you know, it's like now all of a sudden they're trying to hide it. It's like, you know, it makes no sense. So, Miguel Cotto versus Lara. Miguel Cotto versus Lara would be a very good fight. I have Miguel Cotto winning because Lara will not try to fight the same fight he fought with Canelo, and he's going to engage more and maybe get hurt or either knocked out. Just my own personal opinion, Look at the close fights, not the controversial ones, but look at the close fights he could have lost or came close to losing. Venice Martirosyan and then Alfredo Angulo before he literally, quote unquote, broke his face. So I asked myself, okay, all right. Now, Miguel Cotto's defense has vastly improved, but however, I don't rate Cotto off of his last two fights. I don't rate him against Delvin Rodriguez. I don't rate him off of his fight against Sergio Martinez. I've said that many times why I don't rate him off of those fights. One, Delvin Rodriguez, it's like, okay, all right, well, in your last four, you're 2-2. So therefore, you lose to Mayweather, you fight, no way, you lose to Austin Trout. No way, you lose to Mayweather, you lose to Austin Trout, then you fight Delvin Rodriguez and disability SSI check Sergio Martinez. Stop it. Get out. Get out now. You know, I want to get up and drag him out so bad. Anyway, I can't really count Well, they're victories. Don't get me wrong. They're victories, and I can't take away from that. But at the same time, negate the fighter that he is. People are saying, you know, Freddie Roach has reinvented the left hook. Freddie Roach has got him back to what has got him where he is, the left hook. The left hook. The left hook. And I think like, okay, all right, the left hook. But put him up against a good fighter with that left hook. You know, put him up against a great fighter with that left hook. You got to be able to touch the fighter to be able to get to it and not get your face punched in the meantime. But once again, I do believe that with the limited punch variety that Cuban School Erislandy Lara has shown us, I do believe that Miguel Cotto may stop him later on in the fight. But that's just only my personal opinion. But will it happen? To be perfectly honest with you, for a fight like that to happen, there's too much that has to happen. For Erislandy Lara, Miguel Cotto to have to happen, that means top ranked boxing and Al Haymon would have to be cool. That would mean that Miguel Cotto Promotions on its own, where Miguel Cotto fighters fight on top ranked undercards, would have to fight on. It would be a strictly Miguel Cotto Promotions, you know. It can happen, but too much has to be involved. And then also, you know, remember, Miguel Cotto is going to be completely 100% A-side, to whereas Al Haymon likes to make sure his fighters are, you know, in a situation, you know, to where they can dictate a lot. And, you know, Erislandy Lara, I mean, let's face it, he beat Ishe Smith. Okay, we already knew he was going to win that. But then he still got that loss against Saul Canelo Alvarez. No matter how you say he lost or whatever the case may be, there's an L on this record from Saul Canelo Alvarez. So, you know, it's a, you know, I would love to see the fight once again. But at the same time, am I optimistic? I don't know. You know, can it happen? Yes, you know, it can happen. But then I try to think about, okay, but what would the undercard look like? And I'm not saying the undercard would have to be good. I'm talking about looking at the politics involved with it, like who would be fighting who, and would you have, you know, like the first openly gay boxer Orlando Cruz on there, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, like, how would you promote the fight, you know? So who's going to be talking at the press conferences? You know, is it going to be Miguel Cotto's friend Angel? You know, is it going to be it's not going to be Al Haymon? It's not going to be on a Mayweather Promotions card, I guess. You know, it's not, because Erislandy Lara is not Mayweather Promotions. And those are the questions I be wanting the people who watch my my channel to ask themselves. You know, when you start talking about, okay, this person should fight this person, or this person should fight that person, start looking at how can the fight be put together, judging off of going off of information you know yourself from what we've seen in the past of fights, of why fights have not happened. You know, so that's why I question people. Like, just open your mind, guys. Sometimes you just be too stuck and worrying about things you shouldn't be worrying about, and so stuck on things that literally can't happen, where you should think about, well, what can happen. Now, there's many fights I would want to see Miguel Cotto in, but if you really think about it, the pickings are slim. Now, if he fights Timothy Bradley would be a good fight. The only issue I have is, even though Miguel Cotto's power is questioned at 160, and it was questionable at 154, if you really think about it, Timothy Bradley power, he's going to be jumping up from 154, even though it may be 155, or a catch weight of 154.2 or 154.34, or some old bullshit like that. Either way, Timothy Bradley's power not going to catch up there. And we know Timothy Bradley is kind of like schizophrenic with his career, because he don't know if he's a power puncher or a boxer. He's going out there trying to prove stuff to people. And it's like, get back to what you were. Box. Move. You know, instead of going out here trying to beat people up. That's not who you are, Timothy Bradley. So I'm thinking to myself, if he goes up to 160 pounds, and if he was that perfected boxer that we saw box my Juan Manuel Marquez, that did exactly what his skill set is supposed to, he did exactly what he's supposed to do for his skill set, then he has a great chance to defeat a questionable Miguel Cotto at 160 pounds. Now, can Miguel Cotto at 160 pounds knock out Timothy Bradley? Yes. Timothy Bradley has heart, but I'm not talking about knock him out as far as put him to sleep. I'm talking about knock him out as far as technical knockout, you know, referee stoppage. But I am T-Street Controversy. This is T-Street Controversy Live at RealCombatMedia.com. I cover every single major fight live, news, predictions, post-fights, interviews, etc. It's a big year, 2015, for T-Street Controversy. Just a little under 7 months now, and so many major changes, guys. And it's all for the benefit of the sport, and more importantly, if the sport benefits, then I benefit. T Street Controversy, RealCombatMedia.com, T Street Controversy Live.